Did all of you get a chance to write down what you wanted to achieve with today? Okay. So one of the things with the team that I love the most, I run a community of guys where we get together every single month. Okay, and we call it an empathetic witness. And with that group of people, what we do is we basically know everything about each other, from finances to personal life to goals and aspirations, and we hold each other accountable, which really helps increase the likelihood of completion. And we're also very brutally honest with each other. Like if something's amiss, we let each other know. So that way we can be open and honest about the growth we're trying to have and keep each other on track. So, and I want to make sure that we do that with each other. Would any of you guys be willing to share some of those goals that you wrote down of what you wanted to get out of today? Would any of you guys be willing to share? Just so you guys know, okay, for those of you who are serious about your goals, if you're hesitant to want to share, okay, the likelihood of completion of a goal, if you say it out loud, goes up by 63%, okay? If you want to get it up to 95%, put an accountability partner. Your likelihood of completing a goal goes up by 95%. Do you want to know how many people actually finish their New Year's resolution, the actual statistic?
12%, probably less than 1%.
9%, okay? And typically, it's the same 9% as the year before. The difference that helps people really make a change is that, 1, they say it out loud. 2, they get an accountability partner, okay? So who's serious about their goals?
I got you. Do you want me to share?
Yeah.
I'm an alcoholic and a sex addict, and I'm ready to freaking be focused on my goals. I mean, we're being open, we're being vulnerable. Let me start.
Dude, let's go.
And I know that those two things affect where I want to be, and I can't be where I want to be while those are in my way.
Yeah. Guys, that's the strongest person in the room right there. People think the person who white knuckles it is the strongest one in the room. I promise you, he'll quit much before everyone else. Like I just ran this race in Hawaii and it had really steep downhills with lots of terrain. First 2 laps, I ran the first lap really hot and the downhill had blown up my legs. And I watched all these people and they were telling me, oh, I love the downhill. And so they would fly down it, right? And they were way faster and I had to let them pass me. But the second loop, I started to run my own race and I ended up passing all of them because I slowed down enough, because the strongest one isn't the one who necessarily goes the fastest in the beginning. It's the one who lasts the longest. The man who loves to walk will walk much further than the man who has a destination. And so the person who's willing to do what it takes to actually hit his goals, I bet you he goes a lot further than most, because that's what takes the most strength. It's not the one who sits there and hides it and says, I'm going to be strong. No one's going to know what I'm going through. It's the one who actually speaks up and says, look, I'm going to do anything I can to win. Okay, anybody else want to share their goal? Who else is serious? Not that many serious people? I saw another hand in the first place. Who else rose their hand?
Someone hasn't shared.
Yeah. Should I just pick on someone? You want to share your goal?
I don't really have one necessarily, honestly.
Okay. How many of you don't have one? Raise your hand if you didn't think of something when we looked at the becoming, when we did that, when we closed our eyes. Okay, if you don't have one, guys, get one. If you fail the plan, you plan to fail. And that's a true statement. If you don't know where you're going or what you want or what's in your way, you're going to struggle. Okay? You guys with me? Like we said, you can't grocery shop success.
I guess pretty simple, pretty much kind of the whole reason why we're all here, just becoming a better leader. I feel like one thing I can work on is pretty critical of others when I should probably be more critical on myself, and that kind of makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, love that. Like looking here. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, one more person. Give me one more.
I got to the point where I'm pretty obsessed with the job, and sometimes I let my career kind of dictate what my next move is going to be. And so for this upcoming year, it wasn't really the currency that comes from doing door to door and stuff like that. It was more of aligning my will with God, right? And just being able to be up there spiritually.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I'm able to direct my thoughts and energy and focus towards that, it'll pretty much take care of the rest.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, last one.
Teetering off what you just said, friends and family too. Like when I was envisioning that, like being fully present with my family and friends and stuff like that, that's massive too.
Dude, I love that. So let me show you guys why it's important to know what it is you want, okay? Can everyone stand up? Okay, so while you're standing, spread out about an arm's length. I know, it's kind of close. Okay, so with an arm's length, what I want you to do is try to twist and just remember about how far you went. So try to twist and just remember how far you twisted. Okay, try to remember how far you went. Okay, all right, you can stop twisting. Now, stay standing, okay? What I want you to do is close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. And I want you to take a deep breath in, down into the belly, expand the chest, and let go. And I want you to do that one more time. Let go. Okay. Now what I want you to do is to imagine yourself twisting again. Don't actually do it, just imagine it. Okay? Now what I want you to do is to imagine yourself twisting 360 degrees. Now I want you to see yourself twisting another full 360 degrees. And doing it again, and again, and again. All the way up until you look like Mr. Fantastic twisted up. Like a Twizzler. Okay, you got it? Okay, I want you to open your eyes. Now what I want you to do is to twist again. What did you guys notice? You guys noticing anything?
One farther.
Okay, you guys can sit down. Okay. How many of you guys went further? So on average, you're able to move about 70% further than the first time. Why do you think you went further? Detail. Detail. If your body knows what it is you want, it starts to make the adjustments. But if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It's like throwing darts at a dartboard with your eyes closed, hoping something works out. It's what often happens in sales. I saw it all the time with the teams I ran. When people would go out, they would just try to do the same thing, and then they would hope to get different results without any detail or design to it. Okay? You want to be so detailed that you know exactly what it is that you want. That's why it's important with today, you start to tell your body, hey, look, if I can learn this today, that would be a total win. Right? You kind of understand from our first presentation what I'm about and what we're going on a journey for. Okay? Start to set goals that align with who you want to be. And then I'm going to help you learn the systems to make that a reality for you. But you got to know what that is. If you don't know what it is, it's just, you're like, oh yeah, Brock, you said some cool stuff. Good job, man. Right? Like, I want this impact. I want change. Systematic change. Okay? So that detail is the piece that makes the difference. Okay?
To go along with that, so I read a stat that says if you write down your goals, like you actually process them, write them down, and write down what your goals are physically, you're 42% more likely to accomplish your goals just by writing it down than you are by just keeping it in your head. It's because you're putting it out into existence. Like just like we imagine us, like I probably spent 40% more just by that process, like putting it out there, putting it in my mind and thinking about it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And we're going to do one more activity. Who can help me out here? Oh, I can use my phone now, huh?
Is it physical?
No, I got to I'm trying to put a picture up. This TV is not. Okay, hold on. Did it work? I got it on.
Mine turned off completely.
Dang it. It turned off on us last time. Maybe.
It looks like it just turned on.
Did it look like it turned on?
The red light just came on. Or maybe it
Maybe it wasn't all, maybe it wasn't.
Maybe I was the one who turned it off. Oh, we're back here. Son of a gun.
Are you doing it through the HDMI or screen?
We're doing it through the screenplay, but
Does it have an HDMI?
it has a USB-C. Here, I'm just gonna do this, and hopefully you guys can see it with me, okay? We're just gonna do this, okay? Okay, can everyone see this okay? If you can't, you can kind of stand up. Okay, who can help me? Who can be a helper really quick? Who can be my helper? Yeah? Okay, come on up. So I want you to look at this picture, and you're gonna plan a trip for all of us, okay? And I want you just to plan it as best as you can. That's the trip right there. Okay, try to look at this picture and tell us where we're going, what we're gonna do, and just try to give as much plan as you can. Here, let the guys see it too. This is where we're going, okay? So plan us a trip, just as best you can.
We're on a yacht in the bay.
Where are we at?
No idea. New York. Yeah. Hanging out, lots of good time. Cold plunge, obviously.
Okay, you can pause there.
Fun, yeah.
How hard is it to plan that?
Oh, it's like impossible. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Now I want you to plan a trip. Can you guys all see it? What is it? Where are we going?
is that New York? Still looks like.
We're going to New York, okay? It's the New York skyline. So now with that picture, how much easier would it be to plan the trip to New York? Okay, you can sit down. So guys, here's the thing. Our brain can only perform to the degree of pixelation that we give to it. If we have an unclear picture, our brain can't perform because it doesn't know what we want. The clearer the picture, the greater the detail, the better our brain is going to know what to go after. Does that make sense? So when we start to understand this piece of the puzzle, we can start to design the life that we want. Like for example, when we're laying those bricks, like we talked about in our last one, right? How do we know what courage feels like? Because we've felt it before. We've designed it that way to that's who we're going to be. Make sense? So here's what that looks like. Here's an interesting fact about your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what you're experiencing right now and what you experience in a meditation or imagination. It's about 85% the same. Is that not interesting? And one thing that your brain doesn't also know is time. It doesn't understand A to B. It just understands what's in front of it, and it's trying to predict and make a choice from that place. So what happens is when we start to design, we can go into this place of meditation, and when we start to journal, and when we start to put things in place that we're trying to create of who we want to be, we can start to create pixelation for our brain and anchors so it can start to pull that into our reality. Like when we did the twisting, all you did was tell your brain, this is what I want you to do. And you created this pixelated picture so then it can then bring that to you. So then when you try to twist, it's like, okay, you're going to go further. You were no more capable, no more stronger. You had no training. There was nothing different beside the fact that your brain knew what you wanted. And you were 70% more effective. Okay? So this is why it's important when you do weekly planning, when you go through meditations and you start to design and you set that intention, because your brain can only perform to the degree of clarity that you give to it. That clarity piece is so important. Okay? And so that's what we're going to be working on today, because your brain doesn't necessarily know the difference. It's just acting from that place. Okay? And here's the thing. Okay? I want to ask you guys a question. Do you guys set realistic goals, okay? Or do you set unrealistic goals? What do you feel like is going to get you where you want to go? Do you set realistic goals and work a little bit harder, or do you set unrealistic goals?
Unrealistic.
Okay.
I'd say realistic.
You'd say realistic? Okay, let's hear why, and we'll listen to both.
I think like when it's realistic, it's more measured with a plan that's supported. And typically, you're far more likely to accomplish something when you're stacking up wins.
Okay, I like it. Let's hear why unrealistic.
So personally for me, I, a couple of years back, set unrealistic goals, and I shot a lot further than what And so if I would have set realistic goals, I would have hit them for sure. So I had that target that was above and beyond, and still kind of got where I ended up wanting to be.
Shoot for the stars, land on the moon, baby.
That's what I was about to say, yeah. I feel like for me, like I've always, my whole life, I've always shot for the moon. And this year, like I actually shot for the moon and I was able to hit
Yeah.
the moon.
I kind of like the unrealistic goals too, because the unrealistic goals, you know, you have to work a lot harder to reach than what you have to for a realistic goal. So I think the outcome, if you are disciplined on reaching that unrealistic goal, like, is a win no matter what in the end, just because you were reaching for the moon, and you know what I mean, instead of trying to go somewhere that you could easily surpass.
Yeah.
When I say realistic too, like, I mean, you can't really measure, like, I'm gonna have 100 deals, but you can measure and hold yourself completely accountable to those habits every single day. And typically, you're far more likely to develop the right habits, that it just becomes a part of who you are, where you're always chasing that, like, high, lofty goal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I love the debate.
Life is about progression, right? So when you're focused on unrealistic goals and you're never hitting it, you're not able to trigger what it feels like to hit a goal, right? For example, first time I ever hit 6 figures, I thought it was like, I know we can do it if like the right plans are there to hit it. Once I hit that 100K, it was like, dude, that was easy. How do I go double that?
Yeah.
Right? So if your goal is to make $1 million this year, but you haven't hit 500, you're never going to be able to trigger that feeling of how it is to hit that actual mark. It's just a different feeling when you actually meet your goals. And the good thing about it, when you do hit your goal, cool, now I can up it up one more, right? And do something I've never done before, but now it's more realistic because I already hit the tier 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love the debate. This is awesome. And yeah.
So when I set goals, I usually set a blood goal that's like my realistic, I'm hitting it no matter what, and then I have my push goal that's like my unrealistic goal, and that's what I'm really pushing for. So it's like I commit this, I'm doing no matter what, these are the habits I have to do, but I'm actually going for this. And I tend to land further ahead by shooting for what some would call unrealistic. Like Tom Brady, if he had said, I'm going to win 7 Super Bowls, everybody had said, you're crazy. No one's ever done that. You can't do it. But he had that goal and he put in the work to finally accomplish that. So it pushed him further too than he would have otherwise.
Yeah. No, I love the debate. This is great, guys. So let me tell you what I believe, okay? And you guys feel free to push back because I think that's where we find truth. Here's what I believe, okay? If you're not embarrassed at who you were a year ago, you didn't grow enough. And it's better to fail at the level of my future self than it is to succeed at the level of my current self. Because what happens a lot of times is we set these expectations of what's realistic based on our current self. So you're not accounting for growth. You're not accounting for change. You're not accounting for who you're going to become in that process. And so what we often do is we think this is realistic, and then we try to work a little bit harder. Okay, but anybody who works hard, which is all of you, right? But anybody who works hard, you understand that hard work's a finite resource. There's only so much harder work that you can do. And so what happens is you work harder, and you start to stress yourself out. You stress your teammates out. You stress your family out because your time's so spread thin, and we do it all in the name of busy, right? But then there's just no more to give. Okay? So what I believe is in setting unrealistic goals, okay, and failing at the level of our future self, because what that forces us to do, okay, is think in 10x. We cannot think in the frame of our current self. We have to think in the frame of our future self, of who we're going to become from that evolution and make decisions from that place. Because remember, your body knows no time. It's not a point A to point B, this is where I'm at, this is where I gotta go. It's infinite inside of us. Our emotions are one infinite loop. And so we have to understand that as we start to create from our mind first, our brain then gets the pixelation, understands what we want and knows how to do it. And it's just our job to step into that person. But instead of running 1,000,000 miles an hour side to side as fast as we can, I'm taking big steps forward. And now I'm not saying this as in the work smarter, work harder type debate. I work hard and smart, right? You want to work hard, you want both. But the thing is being so pixelated that you know exactly who you are. So, did anyone play college football here? Okay. So, when you're playing college football, and let's say you're a little kid, okay, and you want to play college football, how many different options of pathways to college football do you have? Like, how many different options could you pick? Like coaches, teams?
I guess at that age.
Yeah.
Not a lot, I feel like. Or maybe, I guess, quite a few. Yeah, at that age, because you're dreaming big.
Yeah, quite a few, right? You're like, okay, I could go to this team, I could do this, right? But let's say NFL. Let's say you're shooting for the stars and you're like, I want to be the top 1%. How many options do you realistically have? No, it's like, I need this coach, I need this trainer to talk to these D1 to get here, right? Bigger the dream, the less options you have. You have to be focused. It forces you to make the steps in a particular direction. Because when your goals are set from where you are now, there's so many options that you could take that it's easy to get confused and lost and distracted and get caught in the nonsense. But when you dream so big, it forces a path upon you because there's only so many ways to do that. Does that make sense? So that's where I want to challenge you guys a little bit in that aspect where you're just like, okay, I know what I want, but I've dreamed so big that like there's very few ways to actually get there. So this is what it takes, and then it hones in that vision and that laser process, okay? Here's the other thing. Now we're going to talk to the subconscious mind, okay? We often compensate our own disbelief with hard work, and I'm a culprit of that. So when I played football, I worked really hard, okay? I woke up every day, caught 100 balls, went to school, worked out, and then I went and was outside training every single day, and that basically consumed my life for a lot of it. But the thing was, I never got any better because I was compensating my own disbelief with just trying to work hard. And I thought that was always the answer that was going to solve everything for me, and all I did was run on a hamster wheel of doing the wrong thing over and over and over again. So one thing is when you look at yourself and you understand that the disbelief and the friction in yourself, you're often compensating with just trying to stay busy. Like how much in our lives do we wear the badge of busy as a badge of honor, thinking that that's the key that's going to make all the difference? Do you really think the top rep in Solar Pros is outworking you by that much? Like I remember I sold 300 accounts in pest control, right? So I walked away with, 6 figures, but then there was a guy walking away with $1 million. And I could almost guarantee you, he did not knock more doors than I did. Why? What do you think was the difference there? Why did he get $1 million and I got 100,000?
He had a vision for his team and how they would knock and his systems that he put in place to get there.
Yeah, that's probably a huge piece to it.
Self-belief.
I believe that. I believe it's a self-belief. I believe that when he showed up to the door, there was an energy exchange. I could have said the same words that he did and the same person tell me no and tell him yes because of the way he was received when he approached that person. There's a reason success follows specific people. Success leaves footprints to follow. And there's a reason for that. It's not by chance. There's an energy exchange, okay? And it comes down to our belief systems and who we believe we are. And that's where when we start to really develop the who, it changes that exchange. Okay, if we look at this on even a biological level, okay? You guys know neurochemicals like serotonin, dopamine, all those things, you've heard those? Okay, so neurochemicals are defined as the chemical messengers that tell your body what to do and how to do it. Okay, there's a smaller version of those neurochemicals that creates them, and it's called peptides. You often hear about them in the fitness industry, right? But these peptides are what tell the neurochemicals what to do. So the part of your body that's telling everything what to do is commanded by these peptides. And these peptides have been proven to be the translation from the non-physical into the physical, from your emotions into the physical reality. The beliefs that you carry with you is the energy exchange to how people receive you, how people interpret how to treat you. Like my roughest year on the doors, what year do you I sold for 5 years, okay? What year do you think was the roughest of them all? Why? Yeah, first year. Why?
Because you didn't
Yeah, you just go out there and get crapped on all day and you don't know why. And then all of a sudden, year 5, I'm knocking the same doors, right? Same people, same circumstances, but I handled them way better. My energy had changed. I designed who I wanted to be, and I started to create that, piece by piece. Are you guys with me? Okay. So, here's the thing. Where we start to, I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about imagination, because we're going to do some work on meditation. Have you guys meditated before? Okay. It's coming in a sec. But what we do is, as we start to design our life and who we want to become, we create that pixelation, and we can actually build the beliefs and the neuroplasticity in the brain before we're actually in the scenario. And your brain can start to pull all those things into your reality long before you're in the situation. So you don't have to wait till you're on the door to believe that you've already gotten the deal. And if you act like you've gotten the deal, it doesn't mean you necessarily will, but your chances go way up because the way that person receives you is so much higher. Like I remember when I would go out and I would be on a roll, right? You're having like a 10 sale day. When someone said no, it was like, what? Like, you serious? Why? Because you've gotten so many yeses. Have you guys ever had that? Like where you're just on a roll and then someone says no and you're like, it's weird. Like, that doesn't happen, but it's because your energy's changed. Okay? Any questions up to this point? Are you guys feeling good?
Wasn't there a study that was done with like people working out? They took 3 categories and people worked out physically, but then the other group, they just mentally imagined themselves working out and their body mass actually increased over time. Just through the power of imagination, right?
Almost identically in that study. Guys, you laugh, but it's true. But the thing is like, your body also has a system in it that can know if it's lying to you. If your belief systems do not back up what you're trying to build, it will reject it. Like that reticular activating system that we talked about, that filter, it will say, this is nonsense, doesn't believe it. That's why when you start to design, you truly have to feel aligned with that version of yourself that you're creating and say like, look, I could be him. I just design him, step into it, and be totally ready to be that person and start from that place today. Does that make sense? Because what happens is if you truly believe it, your body will make the adjustments. Like those people who mentally designed it, their bodies made the adjustments, just like what we did. It's a real thing. It's not just this made up hope that I hope things work out. Like you can start to design that person, and then when you show up on the door, people will receive you differently. Okay? Like, so yeah, that.
Hey Brock, just to follow up on that, like knowing that power of that study, what's helpful to me is reflecting on like, what are the thoughts that I have about myself? Or what belief systems do I have that is telling my brain of who I actually am?
And the key there is finding the misalignments with that. So I was talking, what's your name? Evan. I was talking with Evan, and he was talking to me about positivity and negativity, okay? So, when you guys, for those of you who played sports, that's just an easy analogy. How many of you guys were on the team, and let's say you were just like losing by a ton, but there was still that kid on the sideline that was like, we got this, we're still gonna do it. And it's like, the game's over, it's 4th quarter, there's 5 minutes left, like you're not doing it, but there's this kid that's just cheering. You guys, what were your thoughts towards that kid? What, like, you guys want to know something? Positivity has actually been shown to cause more depression than even the negativity. Interesting, right? It's kind of new studies, but the reason why is because it sets an unrealistic expectation on yourself, and not unrealistic in the sense of design, but it's like if you're sad and you try to make yourself happy, you're creating friction. And the friction causes misalignment to where you're out of the present moment and you can't make good decisions. You're saying, I need to be happy, but I'm sad. I just lost this door and I need to be happy, but it's supposed to be a good thing. It's like, no, that's what it sets up friction inside of yourself. What you want is alignment, okay? Peace is the goal, not happiness, because happiness will come and it will go. Sadness will come and it will go. The best ultramarathoners, they know this one principle. The number one time that people quit on an ultramarathon is mile 40. Okay? The reason why is because 40 is never not far. No matter how far you ran, no matter how many miles you put on, 40 is never not far. You're hurt. Okay? And so they think what I feel right now is what I'm going to feel forever. So I can't do more 60 miles of this, so I'm just going to pull out. Right? So they quit. But what the true ultimate, like the ones who finish the race, they understand this one principle is this too shall pass. What I feel right now, I will not feel forever. What I feel at 40 doesn't mean that's what I'm going to feel at 80. And it's very true. The pain comes and it goes, even though you've done more miles. And it's the same with our lives. Emotions are innate. They are not trained. You feel them, and they're not something you can control. The thing you can control is the action associated with the emotion. So if we try to make the emotion something it's not, like we try to make sad happy, we're trying to control the wrong thing that is going to be innate whether we like it or not. And then all we do is just create friction and feel bad about ourselves that we're not someone. The thing is to level the playing field. It's the neutral thinking that we talked about. And neutral thinking says, okay, hey, look, I'm sad right now. Okay? But sadness still means that I can show up. I don't have to shut down because I'm sad. Anxiety doesn't mean stay home and have a self-care day so I can watch Netflix. Anxiety can be a great opportunity for you to realize where you feel inadequate and where you feel incapable to set a new brick of who you want to become. These are indicators that tell you who you want to be. Okay, so there's neutral thinking. What you do is you neutralize it. Hey, look, I'm feeling anxious, but I still know I'm capable and strong. It's like in the cold water. Hey, this water's cold and painful, but I also know it's molding me and growing me in this moment. You're not trying to make it something it's not. Door-to-door industry is hard, right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was the best thing, but it can be because it can bless your life. Hey, I know for every ounce of pain I feel today is an ounce of strength I'll have tomorrow. So this pain I'm feeling for these doors is going to provide fruits for me and my family long term. The man who loves to walk will go much further than the man who has a destination. And so if you just learn to love the evolution of yourself, that's where you really start to create the massive change. And that's where, so I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about the brain. Is that okay? You guys, do I got any nerds in the room that just like to geek out on some of this stuff? Okay, I do too. Okay, so one of the things you got to realize about the brain's number one priority is safety. Okay, so naturally the negative is going to be easier to use. Like, how many of you guys like to use like the negative self-talk to fuel you? Like, oh, you're a piece of crap, you can do this, let's freaking go, right? Do you guys ever do that? The reason that resonates so much easier is because your brain naturally is going to go towards the safety, and those are the things that could cause you harm. Okay? But there's another way that you can reroute a lot of those instances is understanding that you are safe, and growth can be a part of that journey. Hey, look, I understand that I'm safe, but I want to grow, and so this is what I'm going to do. Your brain always has a choice. Does that make sense? Is everyone with me? Okay, cool. The second one, 90 to 95% of our behavior becomes automated by the age of 30. So that means basically everything that we're doing is running subconscious. So we have to learn to speak to that subconscious mind. Because otherwise, what we're trying to do is we think that we're making decisions, but we're really just reacting. Like, how many of you guys feel like a lot of your life is just putting out fires? Specifically, probably the leadership knows that the most, right? But how frustrating is that? Do you feel like you are where you want to be when you're putting out fires? It can be tiring. And part of the problem with that is when you're the firefighters, you become very reactive to your environment. You just take what comes. But what happens is the urgent overrides the important. And then the important never gets done. And the urgent is never important, and the important is never urgent. And so when you're looking at, like, let's take the college to the NFL, when you're really dialed and focused with that detail of who it is you want to be, it's much easier to know which problems you take on and which ones you don't. Because whether they align with what you do, you have that path set. Does that make sense? You're just pixelating the picture. Okay? Then, here's what it is. Your brain doesn't also understand positive and negative. Like, it doesn't understand the don'ts. Like, have you guys ever done the activity, like, don't think about a pink elephant? I got all of you, right? Like, your brain doesn't understand don't. Don't think about baseball. It just goes there. So as much as we like to think that we're in control, we don't. And so the thing is where focus goes, energy flows. And if we're focused on what we don't want to happen instead of what we do, that's where we create problems for ourselves. Like how many of us go out and we just say, I don't want a bagel this day. I don't want a bagel this week. What's probably going to happen? Well, you're focused on bageling. Because it doesn't understand the don't, it only focuses on don't. Like if you say, I don't want to fight with my wife this week, what's probably going to happen? Fight. You're going to fight because the focus is there. But if you say, hey, I want to have a healthy relationship with my wife this week, you're probably going to have a healthy relationship because you're going to focus on how you could be better for them. Same with the doors. You focus on the sales process and what you can do right. That's where you can start to really make the progress. Okay? Here's another thing, okay? So dopamine. So can someone tell me what dopamine is? Huh? Feel-good chemical. Awesome. So dopamine, do you want to know when dopamine is the highest? Like when you have the most of it? When would you expect? If you were looking at dopamine, when would it be the highest?
Sleeping. Eating.
Keep guessing. Let's say doing what you enjoy. That is a high one. All right. So is it at the end? Or when would it be the highest during sex? No, actually, it's not at the end. That's the problem, is a lot of times. Okay, so let's take
85, 75.
Let's go in the middle, too. No. All right. Yeah. So dopamine, if we take that scenario, okay? Take dopamine. Dopamine is going to be the highest, okay, when the physical exertion is the most. When we're in the middle. We often think it's at the end. Like if we run a marathon, you think it's going to be when you get the medal around your neck, right? But dopamine actually, it's a part of the pleasure-seeking parts of the brain, which is why it's often associated with feel-good. But a lot of times it's when pain's the highest. Isn't that interesting? And the reason why is dopamine is most commonly associated with motivation. Okay? So dopamine is what's going to keep your seeking system going to get more. Like that's that drive inside of us where we say, oh, I feel good about myself, but I want more. Right? That's where that comes from. So the dopamine, if you look at it as a curve, it's going to come up like this, and it's going to be the highest in the middle of the marathon, or in the middle, right? And not at the end. and the reason for that is because that's when our tension and our agitation is the highest. That's when learning is the highest. Learning happens best in tension and agitation coupled with focus. Okay? So when you're looking at this, okay, so you have these seeking system, and dopamine's always going to be a part of the equation. It's always going to try to find things to focus on because it wants to use 100% of its focus always. But seeking, okay, cannot be stopped. You cannot stop the seeking. It can only be directed. So if you're focused on what it is, but you're focused on it not happening, what's going to happen is you're going to continually get that thing because the focus is only being directed towards what you don't want to happen. You want to turn that dopamine and your focus into what you do want to happen. And so that way it's going to be the strongest over the long haul. And the way that you prolong that process of how long you're going to keep that motivation for is how long you see yourself doing the thing. Like you can see yourself in it as long as you possibly can because it's a part of who you are, which has a never-ending finish line. There is no end. If we always think in point A to point B, we're going to end up falling short every single time. But if we see ourselves as becoming that person, now all of a sudden you've stretched out how long that motivation is going to stick around, and those pleasure-seeking systems of the brain are going to continue to help push you to become that person. That's why what we're doing is we're trying to disassociate from the result and focus on the who, and that evolution now becomes a part of who we are, and the result becomes a byproduct of who we are. Does that make sense? Like if I'm focused on becoming healthy, I'm naturally going to get the six-pack. But if I focus on the six-pack, there's a good chance it doesn't happen. If I'm so focused on a number on the doors, I'm going to end up falling short probably every single year, like most happens every summer sales team. I have everyone say, how many hit your goals? It's like 5 out of 50. But the thing is if you focus on becoming a good salesman, the sales will naturally follow. Money follows value. If you become a person of value, money will naturally follow every single time. Do you see where I'm trying to connect the dots here for you guys? So that's where I want the focus to come from, is like, hey, I want to be someone of value. Then you bring the value, money comes. Not, I want this number. Because that helps the seeking systems know your why, know how to stay in it, so then you're in it for the long haul. Okay? So, here's the other thing. Blame. We talked about it a bit on the last one. Blame, such that like once our brain feels like it's found the answer, it's going to stop seeking, okay? So, let's say I'm mad at my managers for putting me in a specific area. Let's say I'm the person who wants to blame, my partner for not helping out. Okay, what happens to the dopamine and the motivation then? Yeah, what you do is you put yourself in a self-made prison cell. Because of the fact that now they have all the power. My first year, you'd blame the area because you're like, man, these guys suck. They're just saying no. But I've given them all the power because now there's nothing I can do about it. Until these people say, yes, I'm stuck. It's not me, it's them. Blame is the number one culprit of it's the thief of joy. Same with comparison. Because you've taken all the power away from yourself and freedom and put it onto them instead of taking responsibility. Like the thing is like they talk about extreme ownership and all of this, and the reason for that is like extreme ownership isn't just because you want to be a strong man. Extreme ownership is because that's where freedom lies. You're the one who can make the change. You're the problem, but you're also the solution. If someone else is the problem, then they're the solution. And if they're the solution, then you have to wait till they change. And you're stuck. Do you see what I'm saying? Freedom is in you. You are the problem, and you're also the solution for everything in your life. Everything. Okay. So, let's recap for a sec. I know I just dropped a lot of information. How do we get what we want in our life? I just kind of gave an equation there, but I want you guys to talk to me about it.
I just want to say take ownership. I guess if you want something, don't kind of try and go back to the blame and the justification and stuff like that. Don't put yourself in that situation because then you already lose. So if there's something that you want, I don't know, just don't put yourself into a situation where you couldn't do it, I guess, by putting the blame on it or justifying the situation.
Yeah.
You can't get there.
Yeah, I love that. One that I often see, have you guys ever read the book, I'm forgetting the name, something it's about the devil, and he's how he helps people drift into his, what's it called? Do you know the name? Outwitting the devil. And he talks about drifting. And one of the most common ones that I watch is people try to soften the blow. Something goes wrong in their life, and what they do is they try to say, well, at least I didn't stay at home all day. At least I went out and knocked. And they try to soften what happened, where they just drift into a place of never taking responsibility. It's no, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And sometimes having that conversation is important, so I love that.
I'd say the big thing that really hit me was no matter what position you're in right now, it can always get better, it can always get worse. So really you're going to be a product of what your mindset is. If you're going to get complacent, your pipeline's going to go dry. If you're in a good position, might as well keep adding to that pipeline essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, you're losing weight, don't go out and start drinking and then eating sweets again, because then you're just going to go down the same path you were just at. So no matter what position you're in, it could always get better or worse. So always keep striving to get better.
Yeah. Well, the focus, right, on that design of who you want to be. Who else? I saw a few hands.
I just think the way that you wire your brain to where kind of what Tom was saying, how you look at, things that you're trying to get better at and how you view it rather than just looking at the end goal, but how you view it and what it would take to get there, and not getting that blurred by the negative side. side of what that outcome could be.
Love it.
I'll kind of go on that, just like focusing more on the work rather than the destination. I feel like it's the big thing, and as soon as you go and do the work, you'll continue to be rewarded and rewarded.
Yeah, love that. So let me show you guys. So here's a question that I often ask myself is, are you the servant or the master, right? If you're really looking for freedom and you're sitting there blaming other people, are you the servant or the master? Is your own mind, is it your servant or is the master? When you have addictions, when you have things that pull your attention away from what you really want, procrastination, social media, drugs, right? Whatever it is, are you the servant to it? Do you have to have it, or are you the master? Can you choose? Do you have the opportunity to make a choice? And if you do make the choice, how does that affect you? Because that's where you really start to make the change. Because the hardest part about the change is not making the same choices as you did before. If you know something's bad for you, if we know something's bad for us, but we still continue to do it, are you the servant or the master of your life? Because what I want to create is, like you guys are saying, okay? Where do we fall? I'm going to teach you guys about how to create repeatable, systematic progress, okay? The lowest level of consciousness, okay, is called unconscious competence. Unconscious competence is where you don't know, the lowest level is unconscious incompetence. Forgot incompetence. Unconscious incompetence is where you don't know that you don't know and you don't want to know. It's someone who just is naive, and naiveness is bliss, and they don't know and they don't want to know, and so they just basically show up and drift with the wind wherever it takes them. There's not really a whole lot of progress in anything that they do because they're just going with the wind and what other people tell them. There's no plan, okay? Then you have unconscious or conscious incompetence. You know that you don't know, but you don't really want to know because of the fact that you know it would be hard work. Like we do this all the time with food, right? You know what's healthy, you know what's not, but you eat the unhealthy food and you don't really want to know what's in it because of the fact that if you did, you probably wouldn't eat it anymore, and that's a hard choice and a decision to make that would eliminate something that you like. We know this with the doors. Like, I bet you, here, AJ, you can help me here. What are some of the goals as the team? Like, how many doors do these guys got to knock to have success, roughly? Okay, so if you hit 100 doors a day, okay, that's your success, right? You know that. But a lot of times we're like, okay, I'm going to get quality doors, so I'm going to knock 15. Right? You guys ever had that thought process? I'm doing quality today.
It's kind of hard to tell because every center or person that's hitting the doors is different. For example, I'm very conversational, so I could be at a door for like 15 or 20 minutes. So if that's the case, on a day-to-day basis, normally I'm not hitting 100 doors. Maybe I'm hitting between 40 to 50. Right.
So obviously there is a piece of knowing yourself. There's some detail there, right? Knowing how you're going to do it. But the thing is that like the conscious competence is like knowing what the bar is and then just naturally going below it and just saying like, that's not what I'm doing. Okay. Then you have unconscious competence. You do it, but you don't know how you did it. Like how many of the leaders like could sit out there and like, I could go knock 1,000 doors, like I could go sell 100 accounts this summer and not even know how I do it. I couldn't really explain it. Like I'm sure Cam knows that with guys in the industry. They're just super good sellers, but they can't really tell anyone else how to do it. That's just them, right? The problem with that is like, you can't repeat it. There's no path to follow. So what you want is what's called conscious competence. Okay, conscious competence is where you know how you did it and you can do it again and you can teach it. It's like plug and play. The reason that that's so powerful, like him saying, he's like, no, I know I'm a conversationalist. That's how I'm going to get my sales. Like that's conscious competence. You know what works and you're doing what works and you're repeating it. But if it's not working, then there has to be an adjustment. But the conscious competence is where design is so much in it. Like the focus of knowing what it is you want and who it is you want to be and living from that place creates conscious competence, because then when you get there, it's like, yes, I know I got here and I know why I'm here. I know exactly what did it and I could tell you how to do it too. That's why the best leaders in the industry are the ones that did it and can explain it, because they did it by design. It wasn't just by chance. Does that make sense? Okay. So I want to help you guys design a little bit, okay? So this is where we're going to do a meditation, and I'm going to walk you through, okay, what design looks like. And we're going to start to pixelate what the highest and best version of you looks like, okay, what it feels like, what the experience is. But here's the thing, okay? As we do this meditation, I don't want you guys to try to like force anything. Like don't try to think what everybody else or what's going to sound cool or what's going to be amazing. Just let your mind go where it wants to. Go with what resonates inside of you. Okay, and then we're going to write it down and we're going to start to pixelate this picture for you. So that way when you walk out of here, you will at least have enough design to start the picture inside, and your brain will have that. Then you can start to create that conscious competence, because now it's just a matter of stepping into the picture. Okay? You guys with me? Everyone? Okay. All right, guys. So I want you guys, so you can just stay in your chairs. Okay? But what I'm going to do is try to get comfy, and I'm just going to help you guys connect. You can get comfy. Hey, if you fall asleep, it's okay. Just go wherever it needs to take you. Try to stick with me though, okay? Try to stick with me. All right, guys, let's start to relax. Okay. All right, guys. I want you to start to relax. Close your eyes. You can lay down. You can lay on the ground if you want to. You can sit in the chairs. Okay. Don't fall asleep on me, all right?
Got you, bro.
I got you, bro. Okay. Okay, guys, quiet down. Close your eyes. All right, guys. Hey, quiet down. Let's start to relax. Okay, and I want you to just start to close your eyes. I want you to close your eyes and just start to connect with your breath. Breathing down into the belly and into the chest and letting go. And allowing yourself to arrive just in this moment, checking in with your body, understanding where you're at. And as you're starting to connect with your breath, I want you to see it coming down into your belly, circulating around with a long exhale. And as you're starting to recognize the breath, what I want you to do is to now start to notice any pieces of tension that you have inside your body. And as you notice and recognize where they're at, breathe into those areas, allowing yourself to release the tension, allowing yourself to relax in this moment and become completely present. Now, as you're starting to connect with your body, I want you to start to check in, starting with your feet, letting them relax, noticing how they feel on the floor. Now moving up into your knees and into your hips, moving up into your chest, feeling your lungs expand and decompress. Noticing your heart as it beats inside your chest. Is it moving fast? Is it moving slow? Without trying to change it in any way, just simply noticing it. Now I want you to come up into your mind and start to notice the thoughts swirling around you. Without trying to change them or judge them, just allow them to be and recognize and become aware of what's in your head. Processing and organizing them, allowing them to come and allowing them to go to where you can arrive in this moment, completely relaxed and at peace. Now, as your body arrives and relaxes in this moment, what I want you to do is to now start to drift inside of your body, feeling yourself getting smaller and smaller. And as you do this, you'll notice it's getting darker and darker. And as you arrive into this darkness, you start to become curious and start to explore. And as you start to explore, you're going to notice off into the distance that there's a doorway that begins to appear. And I want you to go over to it and open it up and walk inside. And as you walk through this door, you're going to notice yourself arriving in a moment that you've never experienced before. One that is completely new. In this moment, you feel completely aligned with who you are and the people that you're around. You feel like your highest and best self, completely indulging in everything this world has to offer, allowing yourself to win and embrace, removing the shame and the guilt around your success. Completely at peace with the life that you've created. And I want you to begin to recognize where you're at, who is around you, who you are, how do you treat the people around you? What are some of the character traits that you notice as you're in this experience? Now, as you find yourself noticing and recognizing everything on the external side, I want you now to turn on the internal side and start to recognize what's going on inside of you. What emotions are you feeling? What behaviors are you participating in? What do your daily activities look like? What do they feel like? How do you treat people? Now I want you to turn upwards into your own mind and recognize the thoughts in this moment. How do you think? Are you seeing the best in the people around you? Are you seeing the best in yourself? Are you focused on gratitude, love, and abundance? Now, as you set the details of this moment and you start to recognize the emotions, the behaviors, and the thoughts, where I want you to focus now is pulling them into your body today. And I want you to take a deep breath in as if you're pulling that into you. And now I want you to exhale. And I want you to breathe that in one more time. And on this last one, with the exhale, I want you to focus on any inconsistencies that you currently hold that are not in alignment with that highest and best version of yourself. Are your thoughts critical of others? Are they constantly noticing where you don't add up? Is your focus on things that are unproductive or distractions? Or are you focused on the love and abundance and gratitude? Do your behaviors reflect that highest and best version of you? If not, what is the difference? Do you feel like that version of yourself? Are you able to truly feel whole as you are? Or do you feel like you're constantly trying to add up to the expectations of other people around you? Recognize the inconsistencies. And as you do this, what I want you to do is to breathe in your highest and best self and breathe out with the inconsistencies. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Now, as this is fresh on your brain, before you open your eyes, what I want you to do is to recognize the inconsistencies, and when you open your eyes, go straight to a place to where you can write them down, and you can remember this moment and the detail that you've created for your life, and start to create as much conscious competence as you can. And as this starts to become a part of your reality, you'll know why you're there and why you belong. And when you have everything you could ever ask for, you're gonna know that you created it and that you deserve every piece of it. So I want you to open your eyes, go to a place where you can write this down, and I want you to take a second. Did you fall asleep? Hey, good.
I feel like I'm gonna slap 10. Trying to envision myself getting up without using my hands. I don't even want to get up.
Dude, honestly, I was so comfy.
Good meditation then,
I was
huh?
on a pillow at one point. I'm like, oh, I forgot where I was. I was like, what room are we in the house?
So guys, try to limit conversation right now so people can focus. Okay, as you guys start finishing up, does anyone want to share what they wrote down?
one thing I've told a few people, but it's kind of deep actually. I kind of started to notice it a little bit during the summer. And it's when I first get to know somebody, I have my guard full up. And it tends to come from a distrust or maybe distrust, maybe like not really like in love with them, like I'm just like very distant and not, I just feel like I don't like them for whatever reason, and it's just something that I've found, but it kind of got brought up because when I'm with the people that I love and care for, you know, like I had to get there somehow.
Right, so maybe trust. Good. Does anyone else want to share?
One of the main ones that I have that I've been focusing on a lot lately is mapping out more of my time. I feel like we do a really good job during like sales because it's just like you have to have that mapped out day in and day out. But like the off season time, especially since me and my wife had a baby, like it's completely different. Like just like where your time management goes. And some days I still feel like I struggle with it because I'm so focused on like growing and exploding, and like I'll find myself doing calls like all day from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. and try to find that balance like every single day. One thing I did the last like couple weeks was sitting down and like just mapping out my whole calendar for the week and having those times blocked up and just having like that non-negotiable. But that's something that's still some days I'm just like I just gotta work. It's hard to step out of and focus on the other things outside sometimes.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Thanks for sharing.
One for me, I mean, growing up, like even in 10th grade, I still weighed less than 90 pounds. So I was like a small guy, so I always had like the small man syndrome where I felt like I had to prove myself or do something to get acceptance or love from other people by acting out or whatever. And so I still think I sometimes don't have as much belief in myself. And, I understand where that came from, but more believing in like making a huge impact.
Yeah.
I can do that.
You're that guy. Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else?
I wrote down like a paradox. Like I noticed like when I'm at home, I'm like mad and like with my kids and my wife, like very like controlling and focused and like upset and tense. And then like when I'm out on the doors or I'm out with like the guys, like I'm loose, I'm relaxed, I'm chill, I'm fun. Like so just like making that more of my focus, being at home, of like just being that like chill, fun, loose person. Just because that's when I feel at peace, or when I'm happy is when I'm not. So like just trying to like manage everything and control it. You know, like the doors, like you can control it to a point, but like you've got to like let loose and just kind of let it play itself out. And just like doing that at home, like knowing like I can't control these people, like even though they're mine, you know.
Yeah.
Just letting loose when I'm at home and just letting that energy just kind of take where it goes.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else want to share?
I would say probably comparison between, like what was it, the competence comparison, where like you kind of stumble across a goal from working hard and persistence, but you don't really know how you got there. And I think I've done that to myself by trying to like outwork myself down just with persistence, just sheer persistence. And sometimes you like stumble across this like moment where you're like, oh, I've accomplished something, but I don't know how I got here. So you haven't really like built that trust within yourself or that confidence. You just know that you got there because you got there. I think it's like trying to bridge that gap between knowing how you got there and knowing how to replicate it.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think a lot of that comes from like self-doubt.
Love that. Anybody else want to share?
I got one more. Oh, go ahead.
No, Chase, go ahead.
Oh, it's can't be out there. One thing that me and Jacob were talking about a lot coming off of last year going into this year was like just relinquishing responsibility. I feel like both of us before kind of struggled with like we just want to do everything ourselves because we just want to make sure it's done right, make sure kind of just protecting everything else. But this year I feel like we've done a lot better job just trusting, just having trust in the guys that are around us and trusting that they're they're pushing the same direction we are. And still, sometimes I'm still like, fuck, it's still super hard to do that because it's so much time and so much effort put into something.
Yeah.
To kind of just let some of that go is tough.
Yeah, that's one of the most powerful lessons I've ever learned, was that learning to say no was more powerful than learning to say yes. Because it was always, what do I need to eliminate to make space for what I truly want? And it's usually more of an elimination than it is an addition of things that I need to add in. It's more, what do I need to take away so I can focus on this? So I love that.
Yeah, so when I was picturing, like, I stepped through that door, I was in a place with my family, my wife, my kids, they were married, they had kids of their own, my in-laws were there, my parents were there, and it was a sense of, like, pride of what we had built through all the hard work, the effort, the sleepless nights, the traveling, the grind that we're on a daily basis, and it was like a pride of just enjoying that moment with the family and feeling the love in that room and that the gratitude for what we had and what we were able to accomplish through what we did. And my parents were proud, my in-laws were proud, the kids, we had a deep relationship, there was love in the room. And so I really was, pulling that in, and then what I wanted to get rid of was the inconsistent habits, the things that I'm really good at times, and then I falter and get more consistent in that. And then the pressure to always react to everything in this job, because we're getting so busy and so big, and there's so much thrown on us at all times. And as you grow, it's more and more and more and more, and I always feel like I'm just running around reacting to everything. So I wanted to eliminate that and take a step back and really dial in systems and culture that guide that so we're not always reactive.
Powerful. No, I appreciate you guys, and I hope that this was helpful, and to hear you guys talk about some of these things, like I always say, it's not one big moment where everything makes a change. It's a million small turns in the right direction that add up over a long period of time. Take this moment as one of those turns and let that compound and start to take these lessons, and don't just let it stay in this room. Make this design that you've built a part of who you are, and start to design that person even deeper to where that really becomes who you are. So we're gonna take a break. Well, actually, I'm gonna turn the time over to AJ, the leadership. They're gonna take some time and work with you guys now. So I appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna turn the time over to AJ.
5-minute bathroom break.